Wonderful day, wonderful day, wonderful day. This is your neighborhood sensei Fouché, telling all y'all stay woke, relax, take notes. Shout out to JF Winter and Nasty Noise Music Productions. N.N.M.P. is the acronym. All music heard on Stay Woke with Sensei Fouché is provided by NNMP, Nasty Noise Music Productions. Check us out on YouTube at NNMP, N as in Nancy, N as in Nancy again, M as in manipulator, and P 1993, and just follow the elephant in the room. You know what I'm saying? And you'll be plugged in to all NNMP, Nasty Noise Music Production instrumentals. Another shout out to Round the Clock Thinkers show, hosted by Packboy Dolo. This is intense workout, and if you're looking for that massage therapy, please go and support that platform. Again, Round, not with the A in the front, RoundTheClockThinkers Round the Clock Thinker Show, hosted by Packboy Dolo. And right here, this is Stay Woke with your neighborhood sensei Fouché. And we've been covering not tomorrow, not yesterday, but now. A lot of people, they want to wait. You know what I'm saying? Push things to the side. Oh, yeah, maybe later. But, every day is maybe later. And then when you have many days that pass by and many laters, and then you're wondering why the thing that you so-called was speaking about hasn't manifested yet, that's because you expected for someone to hand it over to you, like free school lunch. You know what I'm saying? But free school lunch is for the desperate. You know what I'm saying? Or the young, the what's the word? You know it. Come on, roll with me. The dependent. Not the independent. Who's dependents? Babies, young children, and the extreme elderly. You know what I'm saying? Those are your required dependents. You know what I'm saying? Because even specific adults that have major handicaps, like, they're not into the dependent mind state. You know what I'm saying? They feel insulted when, people try to give them handouts. But, not the begging generic. The begging generic, he wants easy street. He thinks easy street is just one simple straight road. You know what I'm saying? But easy street has a lot of terms. And depending on, how you move, you could easily lose track and get redirected by your own neglect of vision and sidetracked into some strange path or highway of nowhere. Easy Street requires a lot of attention, and it requires a lot of discipline, patience, and it requires your unlimited time, your endless time. It's just basically a part of your being, not something that you should think about or have to specifically plan. You know what I'm saying? It just is. And then that's what is easy street. And a lot of us, in, the conversation that's going to go in line with our topic is, being emotionally insecure and unstable. And the reason why we go through those specific feelings is because we are lost children of the light being guided by the darkness or the clown or the joker, the jester. You know what I'm saying? And he's a comic. Like, he's just running your whole function for fun. Like, there's really no intent on managing your sustainability, because the joke isn't about the sustainability. It's about abusing you to the point to where you are no longer able. And then when you are no longer able, you know what I'm saying, it's just many different puppets that are able to be controlled outside of you. So once you serve no more use, they're just going to discard you into the ground or burn you into ashes. You know what they say, 10 pounds of calcium. I think that's what the human body weighs when it is cremated, if I heard right, in a specific program that I was paying attention to. Yeah, 10 pounds of calcium. It's either 10 or 13, one or the other. But, yeah. The comic clown running the show, you know what I'm saying, the comedian, he's just going to abuse you and discard you once, you have, no more use, value, or just so beat up that you can't even function or no longer operate. You know what I'm saying? So you're just going to be discarded, and when you are in this unfocused and unstable emotional living, you're just going to create a lot of hardships and pain. You know what I'm saying? And as hard as life is, it doesn't have to be painful. You know what I'm saying? It just takes a lot of discipline and a lot of intricate study and focus into continuing in elevation of your highest state of being. So, yeah, if you ain't into the now, you know what I'm saying, you just living in the past hoping for the future, and being that the past no longer is there and the future hasn't materialized, then you stuck in a place of nowhere. And then that's the pain, is, almost like quicksand. You know what I'm saying? It's just a slow, you think that you on solid ground and, you blind and you just standing in place and you just slowly devolving. You know what I'm saying? You ain't evolving. So, we talking about, in this chapter, specifically referenced consciousness, the way out of pain, we're going through the identification of the pain. And when you are aware of the pain and how serious of a detriment that this pain is, that is the beginning of you being extremely assertive in your seriousness to no longer have that apply in your habitual daily movements going forward. So again, the book is The Power of Now, A Guide to Spiritual Enlightenment by Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart is his first name. Last name is Tolle. And right now, I'm in this second chapter, and this is going to be our third conversation in regards to this second chapter. And this is a pretty intense chapter, so we about to go in. I'm feeling this book, and I've only had it for maybe maybe 2-3 weeks, and this thing is already pretty worn. But I've been itemizing through all of the scripts that I've covered so far, and highlighted specific details of reading material, to be specific in what we're trying to cover in the whole. You know what I'm saying? Because we're just gonna itemize the key parts and just ad lib through what we know to simplify maybe some of the more complex writing. So we're just going to simplify that by going into any necessary definition. So, let's start to get in. Now remember that an emotion is the body's reaction to your mind. What message is the body receiving continuously from the ego, the false mind-made self? Danger. I am under threat. And what is the emotion generated by this continuous message? Fear. Of course. If we're reading over what we just covered in our last conversation, just follow forward and pardon me for the refresh. Fear seems to have many causes. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of being hurt, and so on. But ultimately, all fear is the ego's fear of death, of annihilation. Because if it's no longer able to, have full control of the stage, once it's minimized, it doesn't really have any place, because it's not really serious, and it's not really, sustainable in being comfortable within society. It's just momentarily excused as humorous or goofy, but it really doesn't have much credibility. To the ego, death is always just around the corner. In this mind-identified state, fear of death affects every aspect of your life. For example, even such a seemingly trivial and normal thing as the compulsive need to be right in an argument and make the other person wrong. Defending the mental position with which you have identified is due to the fear of death. If you identify with a mental position, then if you are wrong, your mind-based sense of self is seriously threatened with annihilation. So You as the ego cannot afford to be wrong. To be wrong is to die. Once you have disidentified from your mind whether you are right or wrong, which is basically like, what difference does it make? Because if they're so strong in how they feel, regardless of what they don't know, like there's very little way you're going to convince someone of ignorance, that education is the way to be, because they're such in an ignorant position that they just clown. Like anything serious really doesn't interest them or attract to them, not at that state or stage. So the forcefully compulsive and deeply unconscious need to be right, which is a form of violence, because you get angry. You know what I'm saying? You are not convincing the other person that you are right, so you get angry, beyond frustrated. You know what I'm saying? And even in someone that has a little bit of a higher understanding of others' inability, like frustration should only be momentary, not long sustainable. Because different than the extremely angry person, just holding on to something for a longer period that really is what it is, and there's no way around it for that moment. There just has to be a future awakening, maybe or not, in that dimmed body of living. You can state clearly and firmly how you feel or what you think, but there will be no aggressiveness or defensiveness about it. Your sense of self is then derived from a deeper and truer place within yourself, not from the mind. The subconscious, the hidden self, the deepest aspect of your moral understanding, that's what you need to dig out. You know what I'm saying? And when you dig that out, you're going to disassociate from the clown character, who's controlling the stage right now. He should basically be a warm-up act. But if he's over here, performing the whole set, and you don't allow yourself any time to perform, you know what I'm saying? It's like you invisible, which you really are. You know what I'm saying? But if you the star, then you need to, assert yourself and take over the stage. You know what I'm saying? And just making reference into old school common mainstream, Bobby Brown, old school singer, was once part of the group New Edition. And Bobby felt like he was the star. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't going to be just some opening act or some sidekick. Like, he was like, yo, you know what I'm saying? I need to take control of this stage. You know what I'm saying? Because if I don't take control of this stage, you know what I'm saying? I'm just, below, the guy that's out here running the lead right now. But, he has a certain presence, but he doesn't have the deeper charisma, or showmanship, being in control and having the flair and the high level of authentic entertainment. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, yo, I got to take over the stage. And that's the same for your true self. You need to dig that out and have it be assertive to take over the stage and throw the clown to the back. You remember the old school Apollo? What was the Sandman? You know what I'm saying? He was the comic, the character. He was goofy for a good minute, but you couldn't have him run the whole show. You had to run him off the stage, right? That's the same thing. Power over others is weakness disguised as strength. True power is within and is available to you now. So anyone who is identified with their mind and therefore disconnected from their true power, their deeper self rooted in being, will have fear as their constant companion. Let's move on. The ego search for wholeness. The emotional pain that is intrinsic, which is an intrinsic part. The emotional pain that is an intrinsic. Let's look that up, because I know I had to specifically pronounce the word. So let's go into intrinsic. Intrinsic. All right, let's go back because we screwed up the spelling. So intrinsic. Belonging naturally. Essential. Intrinsic. The emotional pain that is an intrinsic part of the egoic mind is a deep-seated sense of lack or incompleteness, of not being whole. In some people, this is conscious, in others, unconscious. If it is conscious, it manifests as the unsettling and constant feeling of not being worthy or good enough. If it is unconscious, it will only be felt indirectly as an intense craving, wanting and needing, which is basically, the dependent. In either case, people will often enter into a compulsive pursuit of ego gratification and things to identify with in order to fill this hole they feel within. So they strive after possessions, money, success, power, recognition, or special relationship, basically so that they can feel better about themselves, feel more complete. But even when they attain all these things, they soon find that the hole is still there, that it is bottomless. Isn't that what we've been saying? Like all these possessions, these objects, these things, these superficial possessions or ownings, like it's only temporary. You know what I'm saying? Because that thing only has so much value in the time that you give it, because you have an insatiable appetite of not being satisfied. So then, $1,000 ain't enough. It got to be another 1,000. Or, you say you want $1 million. I can live off $1 million. Then you blow that in maybe 3 months. And then you're like, oh man, if I only had another million. Well, what did you do with the million that you just had? You was extremely immature, and now, you need more after you already had. Instead of investing and putting, the mature responsibility in the aspect of how you utilize or divide those funds, then, you was immature and rash and did a bunch of goofy things and decided to be very superficial, and now you crying broke, talking about what you don't have, what you wish you had, what you used to have, living in the past, hoping for the future, and forgetting about the present, which is now. How'd you lose it? What would you do if you got a second chance to not lose it again? And do you have enough discipline realistically to where if you wound up getting that you wouldn't follow in similar procedure or footsteps, which is creating the cycle of ignorance over and over again? The merry-go-round. I already told you I ain't into those child amusement circles. You know what I'm saying? Duck, duck, goose. Mm-mm. You know what I'm saying? Merry-go-round. Mm-mm. The Ferris wheel. Mm-mm. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. I don't need that. We almost finished with this second chapter. I'm kind of surprised because I actually thought it was a little bit longer, but you know, time is what time is, and this is the time that we have now to complete this, whether it was longer or not. You know what I'm saying? It's all about just dissecting this thing, how we need to dissect it. So, you know, let's move forward before we conclude this specific chapter and conversation within the content of this chapter. As long as the egoic mind is running your life, you cannot truly be at ease. How many of you continuously live in these fashions of these 7 sins and always never really feel complete still? You know what I'm saying? You get the extremely superficial, pretty companion, whether it's man or woman, but you know, they're kind of dense. And then, you know, you're really not happy, but what you were really looking for was somebody that was superficially known to be pleasing. But, you know, internally and morally, they're extremely limited. You know what I'm saying? But that ain't what you asked for. Remember the story with the genie? And you throw away your wishes on foolish things and you're like, oh man, that ain't really what I really wanted. That ain't really what I meant. Well, you ain't really explain it like that. You know, through your whole thought process and how you spoke it, you know, this is what was received because of how you think, and this is what we figured that you meant, because this goes in content or in constant with who you live to be, instead of being within. So again, as long as the egoic mind is running your life, you cannot truly be at ease. You cannot be at peace or fulfilled except for brief intervals when you obtained what you wanted, when a craving has just been fulfilled. You just a different form of a crackhead, of a meth head. You know what I'm saying? Because once that feeling of being fulfilled temporarily runs out, like, you know, you went shopping for shoes. You thought that would, you know, satisfy your fetish. So you went and blew $500 on shoes. You know what I'm saying? But your mind is so warped, it wasn't really about the shoes, because once they not new and people already seen them and they worn, then all of a sudden you got this complex that pops back up, and then you're like, oh man, you know, I don't feel right. Like, I just feel common again. So then, you know, I need some more shoes. I need some new shoes. Well, didn't you just buy shoes? Well, I need some more. Like, those are already used. What? So, you know what I'm saying? You like a crackhead. You know what I'm saying? You ain't never going to be satisfied. You will never, ever, you know, be complete, because you're going to find that, and it's that endless search after that first encounter. You know what I'm saying? It's like the crackhead or the alcoholic hit the bottle for the first time, hit the pipe for the first time, and then next thing you know, like, you know, they slowly start to increase, you know, their need for that detrimental thing. And then next thing you know, that just becomes a habit of addiction and depression and demise and constant failure and constant without, never really having or feeling full. And that's what they're talking about. It needs to identify with external things. It needs to be both defended and fed constantly, just like a child. You know what I'm saying? It is just, and realistically, it is a child. And be honest, you have the grown part of you, and most of you are just, you know, grown in physical appearance, but mentally you still operate like a child. You know, some of you are still in kindergarten, some of you are still in elementary, some of you haven't passed middle school, a lot of you are still in high school. And there's, still some that still has that, generic dumb college mind state, because you still in the form of, a growing process. Until you reach that, masters, that doctors, that doctrine, you know what I'm saying? But once you at that point, then you ain't worried about, being a comic. It's all about respectability, accountability, credibility. You know what I'm saying? That's when you more than likely was able to touch within that true self, that moral self. You know what I'm saying? That higher psychological, under control and focused self. The most common ego identifications have to do with possessions, the work you do, social status and recognition, knowledge and education, physical appearance, special abilities, relationships, personal and family history, belief systems, and often also political, nationalistic, racial, religious, and other collective identifications. None of these is you. None of these is you. And just on, let me just mention the next chapter, because we finished chapter 2, moving deeply into the now. But let's go through this ending of this, because they just mentioned about racial, religious, like people say, Black history, we about to go into Black History Month, but I'm almost tired of being, what they used to call it in before, segregated. Like, we still segregated because of how we speak and how we think. Like, we have to be separate. You know what I'm saying? And this is about interdependence, if you don't remember a saying. So that kind of irritates me when people just say, you need to know about Black history. Like, it's history. Because if we that important included, then we are simply history. Why should we segregate away from the whole? It's like, I am a being before a human being and before an African American human being. I mean, that's just a tint. But I am a being before I am so-called black. You know what I'm saying? That don't even matter. Whether you black, whether you white, to use those generic terms, whether you are Spanish, whether you are Australian, whether you are Hindu, like, it don't even matter, man. There's good in everything, and there's bad in everything too. You know what I'm saying? You're like, yo, you gotta look out for the brothers. Well, you know what I'm saying? I know a lot of thugs and a lot of criminals, whether they black or whether they white. But if you bad, you bad, and if you good, you good. You know what I'm saying? And if you righteous, I'ma roll with you. And if you aren't, then you know what I'm saying, I'ma just, steer away from that. I ain't even trying to, be a really even close next to you. You know what I'm saying? And not because I'm scared of you, but I'm afraid how I am going to have to be extremely assertive in my direct conversation if you try to play clown around me. Like, you're going to control the stage. Like, I ain't going to let that happen. I ain't the one. You know what I'm saying? So, all in all, me talking about understanding how to eliminate these labels and living within the covers of the sins that are protectors of the character con, to keep control and abuse over your autopilot, unconscious, walking, stated self. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to cover some more tomorrow. But the main thing is Focus on now. Forget about yesterday. Tomorrow is not here yet. We are in the now. And if you don't focus on the now, then that is how you lose time. That is how you waste time. That is how you kill time. And time could be eternal. It's just as precious and as valuable you choose to make it or have it be. It is your greatest riches. It is your greatest jewel. And as well as your greatest detriment and failure if you ignore and neglect the perception of what it should be, as opposed to how tainted you have made it through your interactions of immature thought and low level living. So before tomorrow comes, I'm commanding you, for your own self-value and satisfaction in the now, stay woke and relax and take notes. Be smooth. 1.